in the
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Sure. So James has recently reviewed the Northbrook Metro ERC sub-plans through a First Nations lens and would like to share his lessons learned and a bit about that. So I will pass it over to you, James.
Thanks very much, Michael. Yeah, I thought I wouldn't make this really sort of like too formal, as I always like to do. And as I often say, I spoke at the Emergency Management Conference in July last year about this particular topic, and I got up and I think everyone was expecting a presentation and a formal sort of a PowerPoint and formal speaking, but I said no, I'm just getting up here to have a yarn, which I prefer to do because I think that's the way to get this sort of, or to tell this story, and so I'll do the same again today. And I guess I'll start at the beginning when about what this was all about was when I was working at Australian Red Cross I started there in early 2017. So it's a while ago now. And I was I'm a computer engineer and IT manager. That's what I've done for most of my life. So I was the National IT Service Delivery Manager at Australian Red Cross. I was also the chairman of the Aboriginal leadership group for Red Cross in Victoria. We had a group in every state, and then there was a national body as well. So we all got together to talk about what I'd say is blackfella business in Red Cross and things that were going on and how, cultural competency and generally sort of any issues that might be coming up for First Nations staff members or the community or whatever. And it was really good actually because they asked us to do this and they wanted to hear what we thought about everything that they were doing in the Aboriginal space in Australian Red Cross. So of course I was connected into the I volunteered at the Emergency Management Department there for a little bit as well, and I actually fixed their Register Find Reunite while I was there because they had it all set up wrong. And I went in there and I said, "This is all set up wrong, and I'm gonna fix it." They went, "No, get out of here. You're not allowed to touch the emergency management stuff." Anyway, so I took it higher. Then they got told. I went back and I fixed it. Yeah, and because what they were doing is they were running thin clients off on the network, which was completely dependent on getting to the servers in the data center at Homebush in Sydney. And if they DOS the network, RFR would not work. So I basically said to them, you need thick clients, full-size PCs in RFR to operate properly. So that's what I did. I swapped out the thin clients that were dependent on the servers in Homebush and Sydney and gave them independent PCs that would be able to operate on their own, which, they didn't think about. But anyway, you can obviously see the importance of that if they're running RFR in North Melbourne there and there's a big emergency and the network goes down and they can't connect to the servers in Sydney, so they can't do anything. But then that was just one thing I did, and I'm still very keen on trying to make a difference to the lives of my people by working in these spaces. I'm the chairman of the Aboriginal Advisory Committee at the Peter McCallum Cancer Centre now, and we launched our RAP there last week, and I spoke with the CEO at the launch of the RAP, and I'm going to Sydney next week for a cancer conference, which is studying genomics with cancer in Aboriginal people. So, I really love doing this stuff. So it's very important to me because I believe it makes a difference to the lives of my people, which is one of my primary goals. So when I was the chairman of the Aboriginal Leadership Group for Red Cross in Victoria, I should explain this, we've got a kind of a Koori grapevine that, we all talk to each other, we all yarn with each other. We've got connections to community, family, friends, relatives, aunties, uncles, right across Australia, actually. So through the Koori network, when I was at Red Cross in 2019, it actually came back around to me. I think it was the Hazelwood fires, where the mines were on fire and they had an emergency response, as normally happens, and the local council set up an ERC in, I don't know which town it was, I can't remember, but it came back to me that a lot of the local mob there in that area went, oh, okay, we've got to be evacuated. We'll go to the ERC as they were told by, us mob who do this stuff. And, they come around and they look at the ERC and it's like right next to the DFFH office, or DHHS at the time, and across the road from the police station. And, they're going, oh, well, we don't want to go into this place, like DHHS, they're the one that are taking the children away, which is, valid in certain ways, but that's how they felt. And it came back to me through the Red Cross staff network, actually, that all the mob there didn't want to go into the ERC. Also, I've since found several other instances like the Echuca floods, was only 2 years ago, came back to me through an Aboriginal person who works for AgVic. She rang me up and she said, like, mob up here don't want to go into the ERC because there's wall-to-wall uniforms, there's police everywhere. And I don't know if it's the same with call communities, like First Nations people don't particularly trust the cops, because they feel that, they've been victimised by the cops. So they're scared of uniforms. A lot of call community members are scared of uniforms as well because of the authoritarian, way in their country that they came from. And so we're actually excluding members of our community. So it does affect call people in the same way, but I'm focused on my people and trying to make a difference to them and thinking, well, I've got to find a way, and I'm in a position to make a difference where I'm working as the emergency management coordinator in the MEMO at the city of Darebin, which has the second highest population of Aboriginal people in Victoria. The highest population is in Shepparton. And I'll come back to Shepparton later on when I'll tell you about the Shepparton floods. And when I'm seeing all these things happening, I'm thinking, I've got to do something. So I raised it at the Northwest Metro Emergency Management Collaboration 2 years ago, I think it was now. And I said, I'd like to do something like this. Can we form a working group to help me work on this? And I actually pulled in members from DFFH, the Department of Health, ERV, Bushfire Recovery Victoria was at the time, but during that change, it changed to ERV, getting all the acronyms mixed up. And so we did a lot of work and took it back to the collaboration regularly, updated them and asked them if this is all okay. And eventually we changed our ERC standard operating guidelines for opening an ERC. And I've tallied up about 2 total pages. There's sort of bits and pieces through the ERC SOGs. And then there's 1.5 pages that is completely dedicated to, considerations for First Nations people in an ERC. And it says, don't open an ERC between a cop shop and a DFFH. Simple things like this. And one thing I said at the emergency management conference last year was like, I'm an emergency management officer, and I'm like you. I respond to emergencies, and we all run towards the emergency and try to help the community to survive and revive and recover and everything that we do. And so I actually put those pieces in there, and then it was actually signed off by the entire collaboration. And that is actually part of our standard operating guidelines now. And we're actually doing a lot more. Our training and working group is working on, when we exercise an ERC, we open up an ERC, that's going to be part of the exercise, is considerations for all the staff in the ERC to make sure it's a culturally safe space for First Nations people to enter. I've even recruited, we've all got our Aboriginal recovery officers or our Aboriginal liaison officers or, community relation officers. I recruited ours, Uncle Stu, to our admin team. And so if we ever open an ERC, then, from the minute it opens, Uncle Stu would be sitting at the front, table, welcoming everyone in, signing in all of the, welcoming all of the community in. But then I know for a fact that if anyone in Darebin looks around the corner, looks in the door and sees Uncle Stu, straight away I go, that's a safe space. And I'll go in there. And, it, as you can probably realise, it means a lot to me.
Good on you, James.
So yeah, that's it, and I've spoken about this in the collaboration which Michael has been at as well, and that's hence the reason for the invitation today. And I'm really keen to try and spread this right across all councils in Victoria because it's really important to me. And why I came today was, I don't know, maybe we can share what we've done in our standard operating guidelines. I'd obviously have to go and ask the collaboration for permission to do that. But I suppose if anyone's sort of interested in trying to do this work, I'm also happy to, in my own time, or I'll make the time to, talk to every council and, help them with what they want to do. Because for me, this is incredibly important to make my people feel safe in an emergency. So, feel like a part of the community. We know what it's like when we open an ERC. It can be like a hell space, where you've got all sorts of people in there. But the fact that I hear ERCs not being a safe space for First Nations, culturally safe space, that's what really drove me to do this. So I suppose in a nutshell, that's it. And also the fact that I want to offer any assistance to any council who wants to do anything. As I said, maybe extract the little bits that we've done in our standard operating guidelines. And I'll go back to Shepparton now too, because I volunteered to go up there and help out with the floods as a MEMO. Ended up not having to do that because I had plenty of MEMOs. So I went out and did secondary impact assessments and sort of made sure that they were connected in with the Aboriginal community in Shepparton because it's the highest Aboriginal community. And what I found was that they invited members from Rumballara to come and to the first flood meeting that they had for a response to the floods. And somehow or other, Shepparton Council had lost contact with these people, and they had, the entire community there, including called community member representatives in Shepparton, but there was no Aboriginal community there. And the MEMO at the time is, I won't say her name. I probably shouldn't even say what her title is because she still works there. But anyway, she was a senior officer, and I've always said, really senior officers should not be the MEMO or the MRM. They should be managers or, high band coordinators, which is what I am. I'm a band 8 coordinator. So I actually told her that a couple of times. I said, because they actually responded really bad. I don't know if anyone knows how Shepparton responded, but it was not very good at all. And luckily they had help from everyone else in the state to do a good response in the end. But they completely lost contact with the Aboriginal community, and they were basically outside again in the response. They had all the other community members there. So I actually met with this senior person who was the MEMO several times, and I told her, you shouldn't be the MEMO. And I saw that job, a senior officer, advertised, and it was really like reporting to her. So she's finally relinquished that job, and she's basically handed over to a manager to be the MEMO in Shepparton. So she's listening to my advice. So that's one good thing I saw last week. And I thought, geez, if I lived in Shepparton, I'd love to go and apply for it. But, because I'd love to, such a big Aboriginal community, that's something that really, that works for me, is to be able to do a lot of work for my people. But anyway, it's great to see that she's listened. And what I did was I reached out to the Chief Operating Officer of Rumballara, and I had a meeting with them, and I talked about, what were the problems, and they told me what the problems were. Oh, yeah, they didn't communicate with us. They didn't get back to us. They didn't invite us to meetings. So I basically built that bridge between Rumballara and Shepparton Council and got them back at the table as well. And I thought, well, I don't know how this happened, but it happened. And it was really, I felt it was really bad. The biggest Aboriginal community in Victoria was not included in the recovery in Shepparton. So that's yet another example. And I know, it's same happened to the Lismore floods. I've got Jimmy, who Michael and Amina worked at the floods at Lismore. So I heard similar sorts of things coming back. And the Aboriginal community in Lismore actually really built this huge army of people who responded to the community along with the broader community. So they did an amazing job up there. So as I said, Jan, tell some stories. So I told some stories, and that's probably all I need to say now. So anyone got any questions or comments, or, would you like Michael, to give you my email address and we can stay in touch. And if you think you feel a little bit of help with some guidance or something, I would love to help you. I just saw somebody else in the room next to Amina that I know. I didn't. Yeah, hello. We met at Yarra Ranges. We met a little while ago down at what was it called down at in
the Hillsville event.
Yeah, the Hillsville event. Yeah, that was so good, so good. And yeah, so as I said to you, let's stay in touch. And you know, if you feel like you would like me to come and sit down with your team for a little while, have a meeting or something, even over Teams. But I tend to, if possible, meet in person because I feel like, you can have a far bigger impact by, it's like, imagine, you go into somebody else's country and they, you want to go to somebody else's country and they do a welcome to country. And, you can be welcome to come and live on our country, stay in our country, use our resources, but, you've got to care for our country. Now, imagine a traditional welcome to country by a Wurundjeri elder doing it to a, Wadawurrung elder who's coming in and they're doing it over Teams or Zoom. Now, that wouldn't work, would it? That's what I'm getting at. It has to be personal, face to face. That's how you really get the message across. You can't do, like, I'm a computer engineer. I'm nuts about IT and technology, and I'm even doing more work on that as well, thinking about leveraging technology for. I'm the director of a company that provides technology, internet access and computers to First Nations people in remote areas. So, like I can't let the IT stuff go. But for as far as things like this go, there's nothing more important than a face-to-face meeting and, to talk to people. So it reminded me of something else I said to DFFH senior officers about a year ago. I said, if you ever have, a massive event down in, say, I don't know, Gunditjmara country or Yordi or Wamba, Muddy Muddy or something like that, and you want me to, fly up or drive out or something like that, I'll come out for a while and help out and, make sure everything's being sort of suitably managed for the First Nations members of that community that this event may be happening in. So I'm a bit of an idiot, I suppose. I'm stretching myself a long way. But it's for a really important reason as well. So I don't mind doing that. And, if I had to do it on a work day, then I'd make up that work time on another day. I was only going to work on Monday, actually, because you may not be surprised to hear this, that I don't kind of really believe in the King's birthday. But as it turned out, I'm going to take the day off because I've got to go to Sydney for a day for a conference on Tuesday for Peter McCallum Cancer Centre. They've got Cancer Council Australia's got a conference on in Sydney on Tuesday morning, so I'm going to take annual leave for the day to fly up and be involved in that. They're studying genomics in cure for cancer for Aboriginal people. So I really want to sort of get involved in that because I see that I can help my people who may have cancer to have a better cancer journey is probably the best way to say it. So any comments? I'll leave it there. Any comments, questions?
Hi, James. We did our 6Cs together.
I haven't seen you for a while.
I know.
Saw each other heaps during COVID.
Yeah. And then we did the 6Cs together.
That's right.
James, I just want to say you're always so generous with the knowledge that you share with those around you. And I know doing the 6Cs and during COVID, you shared lots of knowledge to us. And I think that's really important. And I've tried to embed that in what I've done. So I just wanted to acknowledge your generosity. Don't burn yourself out, though, James. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, thanks, Barb.
Anybody else?
James, I'm not sure if you're aware, it's Kim here from Yarra Ranges. We've also, similar to Northwest Metro, we've also got a single ERC sub-plan for Eastern Metro with procedures that sit underneath it. And I think as an action from this meeting, I think there'd be general support for us to take up your offer of coming and meeting with the group that sort of oversees those documents, but potentially if councils in a room have cultural officers or liaison officers, or that we invite them into the room when you come down and have a chat, which we would love to do. So I'm happy to take that on board with Garth to organise that, and you know, I guess if anyone else is interested in being part of that conversation too, because you know we've all got our sort of preset ERCs. I'm not sure. I'm trying to visualise where they are. I don't think many are next to police stations and DFFH officers, but just having that conversation about what can we do like tomorrow to retrofit, you know, the spaces we have identified versus longer term actions would be a really good conversation to have. So thank you.
No worries, Kim. You know, one thing I said to all of when I spoke at the conference, the room was full of police, FRV, SES, Wallace Fire Rescue Victoria, Red Cross, you name it, they were all there. And I said to them, you know, like, what we do is this blanket response, and it's not really considering the First Nations members of your community. And I said to them, instead of just, okay, we got to open an ERC, I'll call the MRM and he'll call the ERC manager, and you know they'll start. I'm down at the whatever it is with the Merc, and so then we get them to get everything ready to go to receive the community. But when you're going to do that, just stop, even just for 30 seconds, and consider, the Aboriginal members of this community. You know, it's obviously very important in Darebin because we've got such a high Aboriginal community there. But also all of you will have, you know, an Aboriginal community of differing sizes. So all I ask is stop and think for even 30 seconds about, you know, what are we considering First Nations people? And one problem I had with Uncle Stuart was he went, why do you need me in this space? He said, I don't understand. So I had to explain it all to him. Yeah. And then once he understood, he's hard to get time because he's getting pulled from pillar to post. He's got, you know, he's got responsibilities to the community. And that's a whole other matter because council doesn't understand those responsibilities because he's an Aboriginal elder. He really can't say no. But so he didn't really have time. He said, I don't have time to be involved in this. And once I sat down and talked to him for 10 minutes, he went, oh, I get it now. So you might have to do that with your Aboriginal staff. They won't see a space for them in emergency management, but I think when they understand the difference that their face, if the community knows and trusts them, their face can make a massive difference, So, yeah, happy to talk to any of your, you know, Aboriginal staff, you know, and explain that to them because, you know, I've got all the emergency management knowledge. I'm lucky I've got all this, and you know, I kind of get all this stuff. And if there's, and you know, it's as I've said before, it's like there's a very valid reason why Aboriginal people don't particularly trust whitefellas. You know, look back historically, what's happened, intergenerational trauma, and you know, my country's been stolen, and I know where the massacres of my people happened in Queensland. I know where they happened, and you know, I don't know who was killed, who was murdered during the theft of my land, but my country. But I'm certain that they're relatives of mine. So yeah.
Guys, thank you, James. I will make sure that your contact details are sent out with the minutes, and I guess it's probably best those that want to contact James contact him directly to share their details.
Yeah, please do, and I'll take Barb's advice. You know, like if I can't get back to you immediately, it's starting slow and steady as it goes. I'm ready to help when I can. But so, yep, please get in touch, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you, James. And did you want to do a big plug for your performance tonight?
Actually, I will. You know, like I was just looking early this morning. I was looking at photos from last night's rehearsal, and like when I auditioned, it was a couple of months ago, and I thought, oh God, I'm not going to tell anyone about this. This is really weird. I'm going to end up, you know, semi-dressed in drag at the end of this thing, and like I'm straight as, you know, like so to do something like that. But as an actor, that's what you do. You go, okay, I've got this role to play, and so you get into that role and you play that role. But I don't know if you saw the movie, but I heard a similar contact from what's his name, Guy Pearce. he made a similar comment because he was dressed up as young Tick, which is, so he was gay AF, but he's straight AF, you know, because that's his job, is to be a tranny. So I go back and look at him, I go, that is amazing. And I mean, as an actor, I've got the same attitude. You've got a job to do, you've got a role to play, you've got a person to be, so you are that person. And I had a look at, we've got our own private Facebook group for the musical theatre company, and I looked at all these photos from last night, and it is just magnificent. I'd highly recommend you go. So just Google Priscilla, Queen of the Desert at the Round at Whitehorse Council, and it starts tonight. So I'm telling everyone now, because when I went for the audition and I went for the first rehearsal, I went, oh my God, these people are so talented. Like they're next level. They're all amateurs, but they're that. I reckon you'll see them all on, on Neighbours or on television commercials or on movies or on stage or on musical theatre as pros in the next couple of years. They're so talented. Whereas I'm just like, I'm kind of just going along to play the Aboriginal character. If you've seen Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, you'll remember that there was a family, an Aboriginal family out in the middle of the bush when the bus breaks down, and the girls are practicing and they're doing some rehearsals and they're sort of dancing around, and this family goes, oh, what are these weirdos up to? And but the theatre production, there's only one Aboriginal character. His name's Jimmy, and he comes out dressed up in traditional sort of garb of like a lap and painting. And I said, no, let's be a little bit more contemporary. So when I was speaking to the directors and producer about this, and they agreed that we'll make my character an Aboriginal stockman, which is really what opened this country up to the settlers who came. They wouldn't have been able to do what they did without the help of my uncles, and my dad were Aboriginal stockmen. So I'm a Aboriginal didgeridoo playing country and western singer. Stockman. So I come out talking to the Queens, and I've got a didgeridoo and I've got my guitar around my back of my neck, and they're in the middle of I Will Survive, and we all get back into it again and start dancing. It's just like, oh, I'd highly recommend it. It is so entertaining. Really love it. And just like pretend I'm not the James Williams Municipal Emergency Management Officer. I'm Jimmy, the Aboriginal didgeridoo playing country and western singing Aboriginal stockman. So
Thank you, Jimmy.
Don't, please. I hate that. It's just like I was called Jimmy as a kid, and I learned to hate it. And when I was 30, I insisted everyone call me James. And so nobody's called me Jimmy for a long time. And all of a sudden, I'm Jimmy again. Anyway, I was going to say I hope to see some of you in the audience, but I won't. If you've ever been anyone's ever been on stage, you know it's when you're on stage, all you can see is a black wall. You can't see the audience at all because of the lights. So that's what it's good, actually. You can focus on your performance. So anyway, if you come, just send me a message and say, I really enjoyed it or whatever, or I really hated your character. It was weird. Okay, thanks, everyone. I might go now because I actually want to go over a few things I stuffed up last night in the rehearsal and make sure I don't do it tonight. So see you all.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, James.